So I'm excited to have Ishmael Prez on my channel because I have been a fan of yours since I started doing those global meditations with you. And I've also just been really drawn to your work, to your energy, and just one of those good vibrations, good feelings. Love what you're doing. Ishmael is an awakened starseed with memories of an ancient galactic war that took place in our galaxy and has been getting downloads about galactic and cosmic intel for many years now. He is the author of Our Cosmic Origin, a book that is now available on Amazon, which took him 10 years, a long time, to write. And in this book, he proposes the idea that mankind's origin was cosmic and galactic, revealing a higher cosmology involving the existence of endless worlds and other universes. He believes himself to be one of many cosmic ambassadors that have incarnated at this time to help restore the Earth in its rightful place in the galactic and cosmic community. And this is something that I feel very strongly and passionate about as well. And I really just want to bring more awareness to this topic. And, you know, Ishmael was one of the people that really helped me along my path, and started doing meditations with him. And I just, yeah, it's a treat. Lovely to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kirsten. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here with you as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really, really, really amazing. I'd love to know more about the downloads, your book, how long it took you, when you started receiving information, all of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, before I answer your question, the meditation, the group global meditation that I initiated back in March of 2022 was actually coming from the Syrian High Council. One evening, I was connecting with them through a meditation, and they said that the Earth, the collective density of the Earth is going to be moving up into 4D in the next 12 months, which is any day now. And they were telling me that it's best to give a clarion call and gather as many light workers as possible to participate in this global mass meditation. I didn't expect to have a turnout of over 10 to 15,000 people on everyone's platforms. I think we had a total of, just on the Zoom call alone, we had a total of 10 people. And everybody was on their broadcasting on their TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, of course. So I think we might have reached over 12,000 people that were there on the live at the same time while we were doing the live. And then on the replay, I think it reached anywhere from like 30 to 50,000 or even 100,000 on everyone's platforms combined. And then to me, that was just like a confirmation that the Syrians were orchestrating everything. You know, they were aligning people together. They were influencing, because, you know, the interdimensionals, the ultra terrestrials, they have that ability, right? We call it synchronicity. So they have the ability of ascending or aligning you with certain people in your life that you're meant to work with. And I've always believed in that. So that's how that came about. But to answer your question now, our cosmic origin was in the making for about 10 years. However, I've been getting downloads from my higher self, which I call my seventh dimensional galactic self. At that level of reality, I am a 12-foot cat with a hominid body and the lion of a lion, the body, I'm sorry, the face of a lion, the body of a man, the face of a lion. I didn't realize that it was my seventh dimensional self. You know, back then when I was getting these transmissions, at first, honestly, I thought I was going crazy. You know, there was nobody out there putting out anything on galactic history, on the history of Lyra, particularly planet Avion and Avalon, and, you know, what led to the galactic wars. And so for many years, I was connecting with this being. And at that point, I didn't know it was my higher dimensional self. I didn't realize it was my higher dimensional self until 15 years later, when I actually started I started to really connect with that being on a level where I almost saw it. I saw my body rather down here on a third dimensional level reality as an extension of that being, as if that being was projecting a portion of its consciousness into my third dimensional human avatar. And when I felt that, that's when I knew that we live in a holographic universe, that everything's interconnected, that there is no separation between us and the ultra terrestrials, interdimensionals, higher dimensional beings. They are us in our future sense, and we are them in their past tense. And that's when I came to understand that reality, the construct is a multidimensional thing, that it is a type of reality where our consciousness is so vast that it's able to animate different avatars on different levels of reality all at the same time, which was totally mind-blowing. And then when I started digging into quantum physics, unified field theory, M theory, superstring theory, gravity theory, M theory, all the different branches that kind of like split from quantum physics, but quantum physics was the main one. When I started diving into the quantum realm and studying, the true nature of our existence, I came to the realization that all of that was real. They call it superposition in quantum physics, the idea of being in multiple states, or the idea of existing in multiple realities all at the same time. And that's when I came to understand that our consciousness is so vast that it's actually fragmented on different rounds and on different dimensions, operating different avatars. So after I came to understand that that was my seventh dimensional higher version of myself, that's when I realized that a lot of the celestials, that's what I call starseeds, by the way. Any being beyond the fifth dimension to me is a celestial, as opposed to a terrestrial earth terran or a third and fourth dimensional carbon-based entity. That's when I realized that a lot of the celestials down here in human forms were actually also transmitting or projecting a portion of their consciousness into third dimensional human bodies, while the remaining of their consciousness was operating on different realities. And that's when I make the connection between the commanders of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and the different guardians, or the different levels of guardians that exist beyond the commanders, and how a lot of them are actually from every level of reality, not just from fifth dimensional commanders, but from 6, 7, I believe, all the way to the 12th dimensional level of reality. We have a portion of their consciousness incarnated in human form, all the way to the 12th dimension. And to me, that was just like that was the most profound revelation that I've ever discovered. The fact that there is no separation in the holographic universe. We are the angels also, beyond the ultra terrestrials, right? When we go into the levels of the angels and the archangels, those are actually future versions of the different types of extraterrestrials themselves. And I came to understand that as we raise our frequency, we become less dense, we become them. And as they drop in frequency, which is what I call in my book, the involutionary process, the descent of spirit into matter, they drop into us. So it's all about multi-dimensional integration, is collapsing all of our avatars and all of our fragmented consciousnesses. The consciousness is only one consciousness, many bodies, different dimensions, and just bringing it all into integration. And that's when I discovered that what we're actually experiencing right now is that we are learning how to integrate higher dimensional versions of ourselves in order to bridge the gap between spirit and matter, in order to integrate the spirit or the celestial realms, which is what we call the realms of eternity, with the material, so that spirit could spiritualize matter and matter could become immortal or eternal. And then of course, matter becoming, integrated or being fully embedded in spirit. As we collapse, again, all the different fragments of our consciousness back into the here and the now, which in a way is what many in the esoteric and mystery school teachings called, 0 point wholeness, infinity, which is what we are, when we learn this esoteric procedure. So I saw a connection from the beginning between the ancient mystery school teachings of the higher evolutionary knowledge, what we call esotericism, hermeticism, and the teachings of the many types of advanced races out there that are really just us on different levels of reality. There is no separation. So the reason I wrote this book was to begin the initiation process, the remembrance process rather, so that people could, especially the celestials, so that people can understand their purpose and mission down here on the earth, which is to ultimately bridge the gap and integrate, spirit and matter. So yeah, it took me 10 years because I only wrote when I was inspired. I would put the manuscript down if I just didn't feel like the transmissions coming in. So there was times where it would just rest for about a year or a year and a half. And then all of a sudden, I was getting the transmissions and I would open up my laptop and it would just flow. So I would only write when the transmissions came in, because if I just sat there trying to write, well, what's next? I would literally sit there for hours not knowing what to type. So that's why it took me 10 years, because I had to only write when I got the transmissions, because that's when it would flow. And, the manuscript was actually finished in 2016. So for about 7 years, it just sat there. And the reason being is because they told me, or me, my higher self, and the council that I work with, they told me that the collective of humanity was not ready to understand the galactic history. We're giving them droplets of information. They're barely learning about, the idea that there are reptilians, Pleiadians. They're learning about the Anunnaki and their involvement in the genetic, the genetic upgrades of Homo erectus, the missing links, whatever they're called. But your book is going to be like a whole new different level of beyond that. So they were waiting for the collective to reach a certain level of understanding in order to be able to digest the information in our cosmic origin. So I waited patiently for about 6 or 7 years. And one day, back in 2020, at the end of 2020, I got a phone call from one of my buddies who was willing to invest in a project. And he asked me, going back to synchronicities, of course, everything was orchestrated by the galactics. He asked me, is there anything that you want to do? Is there any project, anything that you would need financing for? And I was just like, yeah, I just wrote a book, man. And, I wrote the book 6 years ago. I've had a manuscript that's just been sitting there, in a USB disk. What should I do? He says, bring it over, man. We'll see what it is. And, I'll go ahead and have somebody read it. And if they say that if they see potential in the manuscript, then we'll go ahead and, make it happen. Like we'll help you get it published. And at the same time, I was receiving messages. Again, I was reconnecting again. I actually connect with the Syrian High Council. So I do hold a place within their council. Not me, but a higher dimensional version of myself that transmits the information back to my human avatar. And that's how I'm able to get downloads about like different universes, different cosmic sectors, what's going on with this system. Because, some people ask me, how do you know the details about this stuff? It's because I am very well, we're all multidimensional, but I'm very well connected with my other dimensional selves. And so the Syrian High Council told me, the moment my buddy's friend was reviewing the manuscript, the Syrian High Council came in and told me, Ishmael, the world is now ready. I'm like, okay, good to know. And the moment they told me that, I got a phone call and my buddy said, oh my God, like, where did you get this information? Like, this is unheard of before. We researched to see if there was any other books out there that were similar. In the amount of revelation, that you deliver in this book, and there's nothing out there that even matches, even, you know, when you explain the 12 different universes and all that stuff, and we're part of the 12 universe. Like, this is like, what is this stuff? Like, did you channel it or something? Yeah, I told him the truth. You know, I work with higher dimensional version of myself. You know, I'm a multidimensional being. I'm, you know, part of the Starseed Envoy project, which was initiated back in the 50s. And, you know, I'm one of the second waivers. And so I told them that, and it was like, oh, interesting stuff, man. That kind of integrates with what my buddy read in this book, you know, this galactic stuff. And then it took us with, I think, only 3 to 4 months to get it copyrighted. And then once we got it copyrighted, within 2 months of that, my book was released. And then 4 months later, it went into being a bestseller over and over and over and over. And I wasn't like expecting for that to happen like consecutively for like 5 months straight. And then I think that was at the end of 2022. That's when it went into, and to me, that was just like them confirming that, you know, when the time was right, that, you know, this information would reach those that it's meant to reach and stuff. And so, yeah, I've always believed in synchronicities. I've always believed in following your intuition. That's why I never really rushed it, even though the manuscript was sitting there for 6 months. I was just like, hey, you know what? Whatever it is that's coming through me, right? My higher galactic self. You know, you guys are the ones that made this happen. So I figure that, you know, like the movie, The Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, right? So I'm just going to totally surrender here and just wait until till the right time. And so, yeah, you know, that's what happened.
That's why I'm in Thailand right now. I was in Canada, now I'm in Thailand. So it's like, it's not an awakening, but it's an activation for reading this book too.
That's what I heard. That's what people have been telling me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like people are getting the keys that they need. And it's also, yeah, I mean, when I first started learning about that, it's a lot for people to, it's a lot for people to understand, because then you realize that your whole life has, like, it can be quite a shock system for people. And then that's why it kind of creates a divide too. And it's like awakening with curiosity, right? And then when they're ready, then they've got this curiosity that they can't stop. And that's like the awakening process, right? So what would you what would you say you'd recommend, like, for over the next few years? Like, what is your recommendation and how you see things to come?
Well, my recommendation is to understand that on the path of self-reflection and enlightenment, which is really just reuniting ourselves with our higher self, which is the aspect of source that is God, is to understand that we are not alone, you know, that we are all interconnected in the cosmos, that everything is one bigger organism, and that everything is holistic. And by understanding that, we come to the realization that every single person is God. Every living being is God. Every planet, every element, every animal, everything that has a sentiency to it, rather, organic. I gotta be specific. Organic sentiency to it is part of the overall, you know, divine spirit of the cosmos that binds us all together as one, you know, as one cosmic entity. And I think that the more people understand the concept of cosmic consciousness, which is what many call Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, which is the idea that we are all one, part of a bigger organism, and that we're all interconnected. The more people realize that, I think that the faster we're going to bring about the fifth dimensional and the earth reality. You know, and I believe we're almost there. I think that there is an acceleration in spirituality. I think there is a huge decline in organized religion and a huge, you could say, a huge awakening taking place where people are actually becoming more spiritually aware of who they are. They're putting, you know, their health first. They're implementing spiritual practices, whether it is through Tai Chi, meditation, yoga. I think that's on the rise, more so than, since, I would say, probably since 2,500 years ago, since the golden era of classical Greece, when the philosophers emerged with knowledge and wisdom, and Pythagoras was explaining geometry and how it connected with the cosmos. I think that we are on the verge of a planetary renaissance, of a spiritual planetary renaissance. And I think that in the next 2 years, what we're going to be seeing is an acceleration, and perhaps even the birthing of a new Earth. Within the next 2 years, we're there. So that's what I see, and that's my advice to people: is be aware that everything in life does not happen to you; it happens for you. Everything is a lesson, even if it doesn't seem right, even if it's an unwanted circumstance. There is a lesson in everything in life, and if you shift your mentality from why does this negative stuff happen to me, to it happens for my spiritual growth. If you shift your mentality to that, I guarantee you that you are going to not only accelerate spiritually, but you're also going to find that inner peace and that inner joy that just happens naturally as a result of just surrendering with to the flow of life. And at the same time, you will come more into alignment with your own divine plan, because every person on this planet, whether you are an old soul celestial in a human avatar, or whether you are an earth Terran, who started their evolution from the bottom up, from the first dimension to the second, to moving up to the animal kingdom, and so on and so forth. Whether you are that, it's all it's the knowledge that it's now circulating is all available now. It's all available, and all you have to do is just shift your mentality.
That's so beautiful, because I literally just posted about that. I did like a little more intro post again. As soon as this was a while ago, but as soon as I made the connection, the universe isn't actually, I woke up and I got that message. The universe isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. That's when it's like, everything just becomes clear. It's like these contracts that you had like built up yourself, just they go. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like that switch in understanding. You become, I don't like using the word powerful, but like sovereign, right? Like you realize that you have the ability to flow and create. So that's really, really, really beautiful. And I think anybody that's reading this book will start, it'll just activations and downloads will just start coming through in a remembrance for this.
The supernatural abilities, well, what humans call supernatural abilities, of course, once we at a higher level of reality, it's all natural, right? But the supernatural abilities come as a result of two things. The first one is 0-point energy, which is really what people call Christ consciousness, the ancient mystics. And the second thing is building a symbiotic relationship with not only the elements, but the fundamental forces of nature and the universe. So those are the two ways in which we're going to be able to integrate and be able to access and activate different parts of our you could say brain, like the pituitary, pineal gland, and so on and so forth, to begin to start doing things that are, that only the Jedis could do, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's my intention, and even for those that catch it when you post it, they could hopefully experience what it's like to reach cosmic consciousness through a visual meditation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's something to just be said too. For at first, when I was learning about this, I think it was for a really long time. Like, my first thing that came through was, when I was younger, like I could feel, say if a room made me uncomfortable or some area made me uncomfortable, but instead of me looking into it, I just like ignore it. And it just kept coming up. And then clairaudient for me was another big one that came through. And then I started hearing, you know, different frequencies and different voices when that came through. So I think for people that are just trying to, like, for people that are just having an awakening and understanding, it's really important to find someone that resonates with them. So for people having a safe place as well is really important, because it's discernment, right? And just knowing that, you know, it's really a fun place to be once you start exploring and that curiosity, as opposed to it's switching from that perhaps fear-based because of an unknown, to then going to a place of love and understanding, right? I think that's a major shift. Like, I want to touch on that quickly. Was that something, like, when you had your awakening, that something that you found, or how did that work for you? You know, like, you went through that yourself, and now, like, you're now able to give people tools to help them, and this book is really, really one of those tools, right? So, like, and when you went through this awakening, you didn't have I'm going to assume you had to learn and grow this yourself, right?
It was very hard for me. You know, I didn't have any support. I was ridiculed if I wanted to share this information with people. I was ridiculed for that. So that's when I knew that this information is not to be shared with people that are not at that level, you know. And so I'm going to be honest, you know, life wasn't always, you know, it was a struggle for me as a teen, as a young adult. I published my first book at the age of 25. This is my second book, by the way, and I was called a conspiracy theorist. I was called crazy. But overall, despite all the opposition, I guess, and I decided to follow the little voice within. You know, my intuition has always been like my guiding force. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of times where I felt feared, where I felt, you know, like I was losing hope. I was losing my ability to stay in the presence, my ability to be aware of myself. And so I guess they call it dark night. They call it a dark night of the soul. I went through so many of those, and every time I did, I would bounce back up even stronger and stronger. So I actually learned to appreciate my dark nights of the souls, because if it wasn't for those, I wouldn't be who I am today. You know, like, nothing could break me. Like, literally, like, I feel like a fortified tree trunk in the middle of the forest, like the biggest tree trunk there is, that just no wind, no storm, nothing can knock it out. You know, it's just, I feel so aligned with my purpose now. And so I've learned to let go. I've learned to just live in the moment. I learned to think with my heart and less with my brain. You know, I've learned to let go of logic and just go more with the feeling. And yeah, that's why I am, you know, who I am today. And it's an honor and privilege to help others as well that are going through perhaps similar or different experiences. I get a lot of GMs from people that are this close from just giving up on life. You know, they succumb to a form of depression, and I always give them a little wisdom or a little reminder of who they are, and they snap back up, and they're like, "Oh, thanks, I needed that." That little jolt, you know, like, don't give in to the fear. Don't give in to the lower frequencies. You know, it happens to all of us. You know? I think it was Frederick Nietzsche. I'm going to quote him. Not that I agree with most of his philosophy, but there was one thing that Frederick Nietzsche did say, and that was, "What doesn't kill you will only make you stronger." And I always just remember that through all of my dark nights of the soul, through all of my challenges, through all of the hardships that I underwent, when I was younger. So it was a matter of evolving my consciousness into the person that I am today. It's always going to be evolving. I don't believe in staying stagnant. I believe that the universe is always going to present newer opportunities to grow, and I've learned to accept them, and I am looking forward to them now. Like now, whereas before I was just like, oh no, not another hurdle, not another stumbling block. Now it's like, bring them to me. I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to be stronger. I'm ready to, go beyond and my limits again, reaching the next stage and the next level and the next, whatever you want to call it. On the path of mastery, I guess is what they call it in the East. The yogis and the mystics. They say
The Jedi.
The Jedi, yeah, exactly. It's all about the path of mastery. And that's where I'm at now. I'm, in full control of my emotions. I get to feel whatever I want to feel. I'm in full control of my thoughts. I only entertain thoughts that align with my purpose. And I am very well aware that sometimes I pick up on other people's emotions and thoughts and recognize that they are not my own and discard them immediately. I transmute them. So that's where I'm at now. It was all I reached this point because of all that I've ever been through. And I have no regrets. I have no regrets. And that's it. Yeah, I have no regrets.
Yeah, being grateful for every single moment that you've ever had is a really, really powerful, humbling place to be, because everything you'll look back. I know I've said this when I was in, dark places in my life, where I now look back and I'm so grateful that I went through that, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I am now. Right. And it's a beautiful, beautiful journey. And I think everybody can resonate with that, because everybody's had their experience feeling in that way. And, it's, for me, that was a huge shift. That was like my awakening shift for me. And that's also a great gift. And it's a great gift for many that are possibly going through this right now. And I definitely encourage anyone who's listening to go get your book. There's many great activations in there, many concepts that you won't be able to find. You can go digging, but this is in one place to read. And then the quest continues, and the search and the curiosity, and that's life just continues to get better and better.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the cornerstone of our I want to say, of our endurance, of our resiliency as spiritual beings experiencing a human avatar.
Mhm.
There is technically no end to what we're capable of doing. Once we learn how to master ourselves. I mean, everything boils down to that. It's self-mastery. If you learn how to master yourself, that's another step into mastering the elements and mastering the hologram that we live in.
Yes.
That's how that's when we become the architect and the participant. What's the word I'm looking for? We become the architect of the hologram at the same time as experiencing the hologram, as we become co-creators.
Mm-hmm.
Expressing an embodiment to that source code expressed in a body. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are the creator of your life. You are the source. That's
that, but we all helped participate in creating this universe. We just don't remember. Even science says that this universe is continuing to experience through the experiences of all of us. It's in a constant state of creating itself. So that's I mean, that's true. You know, that's heavy, but it's true. If you really come to understanding what that means, is that we are co-creating the universe through our own experiences, which is fantastic.
Mhm. It's beautiful. Well, thank you. It was a treat and a joy.
Awesome.